a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I worked at the late, great WAAF. And I remember I worked on the Hillman Morning Show, and I met a woman through several promotions we were doing. I don't even know if I can name those promotions now. But she was I think she was the manager of the Coyote Ugly in Boston at the time. And then we realized this woman's a huge talent. And so I went to the boss myself and I said, you have to hire her right now.
Aww.
And I didn't do that, Danielle.
I was going to say, I would have heard about that.
It sounds like a good story. But Danielle Murr joins us here on the Pike Morning Show, fresh from leaving the Greg Hill Show on WEEI. And I worked with Danielle on the Hillman Morning Show on WAAF. And I got to tell you, if anybody kept my ass in line, it was Danielle Murr. Because you had to keep up with this woman. She was super organized, super professional. And I was like, oh, God, now I actually have to work for a living. But now you're out. You're ready to conquer the world. And Thank you very much for joining me on the show this morning.
Are you kidding me? Thank you for having me on. I mean, I can't think of a better morning to appear than St. Patrick's Day, so Sláinte. And, glad you had our pal Kenny Casey on earlier because it is dropkick season.
Yeah.
Just going to shows and pushing girls off the stage when, Kiss Me You Know What came on.
I wonder how they're going to be able to do that tonight. He was talking about their live stream, and he's going to have they're going to have a circle of screens, I guess, with fans on them, and then they're all going to be in a circle in the middle. How are they going to bring up all the ladies for Kiss Me I'm S-Faced, It was nice. You used to work at McGreevy's in Boston. You had a bunch of jobs before you got into radio.
I did. I worked. I mean, that's why I always laugh when we made gold digger jokes on the old show. Because, until I got full time in radio, I worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time just to make sure that all my bases were covered. So I'm like, yes, here are my dirty fingernails. I'm digging. Right. I'm digging for cash in the bottom of a tip jar at the back bar at McGreevy's because some guy just asked me to make a Tom Collins, and I'm like, can you look around? I can serve you a beer or a mixed drink. I'm not going to get anything else. Like, how about a perfect Manhattan then? I'm like, do I look like I have bitters back here? Beat it.
If you ever, and I don't know if you'll ever go back to doing this as a side gig, but if you ever see Danielle at a bar and you're part of a bachelorette party, just turn around and walk out. Because I don't think I've heard so much hatred in my life for bachelorette parties from a bartender. You are the one that hates them the most, I think.
The thing about bachelorette parties is it's always the same thing. And I don't know, obviously these days it's a little bit different, but there's no organization. I only ever had one party come in where there was clearly a head girl who had collected money from everyone, and she's like, we'll let them order the rounds and then I'll handle paying for each round. And I'm like, that's great, because that's how it should be. With a bachelorette party, you get one girl after another coming up ordering one Mick Ultra and closing out her tab and paying with a credit card. So now you have to close out 40 different credit card slips for $4 a piece. And I kept a smile on my face, but inside I was seething.
Oh, God. So hey, I know there's a lot of memories.
Yes.
And we don't have a lot of time here, but one of the memories that stands out for you, or maybe give me a couple from the WAAF days when we were working together. One maybe that you're very proud of, one maybe that you're not so proud of, if you're willing to bring that up.
So one thing that I'm really proud of is what we did with Monday's Mud on the morning show, because that, we kind of conceptualized that, and Greg and I had talked about possibly doing some kind of animal-related segment, and then we came up with the idea of Monday's Mud, and, hey, let's get a dog in here every Monday and showcase them for adoption. And, I think we adopted out, well, not us directly, obviously, but it was over 150 dogs, I think, by the end of it, something like that. And for doing a weekly segment like that for a few years, that's really, really impressive. And the rescues that we worked with were great. They were so grateful to us. And it's tough out there in the rescue world because sometimes you have pets that just, they don't fit the standard kind of easy, checks all the boxes, take this dog home and you're fine. A lot of times they've come from tough situations and need some special attention. So it was nice to be able to highlight these dogs and find families that were willing to adopt an animal that needed a little bit more care or attention or training or whatever that was. So that's certainly, I'd say, one of my proudest moments and most fond memories from the old show. As far as the other question, You know what? Most of that stuff happened before digital photography was really widely available, and I'm thankful for that.
Yes, thank God for that. Seriously.
Because you think back on, when we were doing the Mantown calendar.
Oh, God.
And all the events that went along with that, and the photo shoots, and the not even just the calendar release party, but the little satellite events we would have, pair up with the liquor companies and Naughty Dottie and everybody like that. It's just, my God, I think back, and once in a while I'll run into a former Miss Mantown or somebody that worked at the station at the time, and they're like, "Do you remember when this happened? Oh my God!" And I'm like, I actually went to therapy for 3 years to put that out of my brain, but thank you for reversing all that hard work I've done. Really, really appreciate that. I'm grateful for your presence in my life and this refreshing highlight that you've now brought back to the forefront of my medulla oblongata. Thanks.
All right. Well, listen, to move forward now, you're off the radio. And I know you want to clarify this because it's so true, and you mentioned this in your podcast, I'll Have One of Everything, that usually when people hear that, oh, I'm leaving radio, it means you got fired. And that is totally not the case here. You just want to make that clear, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I get it. Like, a lot of people don't want to say that happened to them. So, you do the handshake deal on the way out and say, I resigned or I decided to leave. I'm pursuing different things, whatever. It's very cliche. And I respect that. I'm not the kind of person that would care about that. I would just be like, they laid me off. It wasn't working out. Like, I don't really, that wouldn't bother me. But unfortunately, it's a thing within the industry. Everybody at the company was great. Everybody on the show was great. No one wanted me to leave. They really did put in, from our boss to everybody on the show, put in a lot of work to try to get me to stay. I just had a point where I wanted, I've been doing that job for almost 16 years, and as much as I loved it, I wanted to flex my creative muscles a little bit more. We live in an age of technology where you could basically have a movie studio in your bathroom with, a couple of programs and pieces of equipment. So it's really, these platforms are widely accessible to us. And while there is a bit of saturation, I think, when it comes to some things, I feel like I can bring a really unique voice to whether it's podcasting or YouTube or anything like that.
I that's so awesome because this is not a dress rehearsal. This is the show. If you're going to do it, you got to do it. And that's pretty awesome. I'm glad you're taking it on. And what are some of the things? I know, like I mentioned, I listened to your podcast last night. It's called I'll Have One of Everything. And so you've got that going on. Talk a little bit about that.
So the podcast, I want to explore things that I like, obviously, with whether it's cooking, gardening, animal stuff, just, funny little quirks about me. Like, it drives me nuts when you're at the drive-thru getting your coffee and the person in front of you doesn't move up all the way. So you're 6 feet back from the speaker and they're like, "Can I take your order?" And you're like, I can't reach. I'm almost there. If the guy in the Subaru would just pull up like 3 feet, I'd be good. But I also want to tackle some tough topics. There are things in life that are touchy, whether it has to deal with mental health or how you handle your life or your approach to things. And it's not always comfortable to talk about. So a lot of people suffer in silence, even with very simple things, I feel like. And they feel alone in that they don't think anyone else suffers from the same things that I do. Like, we've talked about this a lot when you and I work together on the show. I have horrendous social anxiety. It's better now, but it used to be that I had to do a Google drive-by of a place before I could go there to make sure there was adequate parking, because I didn't want someone to see me not knowing what I was doing, looking for a parking spot.
Oh, my God.
And it sounds so ridiculous.
Yes.
It's the simplest thing, but, when I expressed that, I had so many people reach out to me like, "Oh my God, I had no idea this was a thing. Like, I've suffered from this my whole life." So I want to touch on that, but kind of make it light and be like, look, we're all a hot mess. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Here's some ways that we can get around it. At least be, my goal in life has always been to be as relatable to people as possible, because I understand people from a psychological standpoint, and I'm overly forgiving with people, but it's because I understand why they do the things they do. It doesn't give you a pass if you act like a terrible human, but I get what the background is, like what happened to you in your childhood or at work or whatever else that made you act like a jerk. So I think it'll be kind of cool to expand on those topics a little bit more within the podcast space.
Wow, I'm getting a lot of texts in here, Danielle, of people just wanting to say hi. It's good to hear you. It's good to hear us together. I got a request for Aunt Kathy on the text line here. Or at least, can we get the...
What are you talking about? What?
What's the text line? I will tell you that I'm Michael Cho.
Yes. Yes.
Your name, I don't know how to say your last name. I apologize.
It's
There's
true.
a lot of consonants.
Okay.
There's like 2 consonants next to each other. I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe you put the wrong letters up on the board. But anyway, that other guy I think is a comedian. So are you. So you're very funny.
Oh, thank you.
But anyway, yes, okay. You know, I mean, just speaking of funny guys, good morning to Kevin Battery. Wherever he is. I love you, pal. But Kathy will probably make some appearances on
good.
the talk. On the talk. I think that's what the kids call it, the talk.
The talk cast.
Not the other thing that rhymes with it.
So, that could be a whole nother podcast right there. I know that drives you nuts.
I'm giving you the sign. I'm looking over the console at you from my home and giving you the eye.
You know, this is great. This is one of the great things about working on the Hillman Morning Show was when the chemistry was rolling. We could almost like figure out what we were going to do next. And I just remember when somebody would say something or a caller, and I could look at Danielle, and all I could see, Danielle would be behind like 3 computer screens, and then it would just be from her eyes up, and I just see her eyes, and I could totally tell what she was thinking. It was unbelievable, like how that chemistry got in. It was just so great working with you like that. Someone says you should have Danielle. You should have Danielle as part of the morning show. Well, listen, Danielle, I'm going to make you an offer right now.
Okay.
If you want to be on the Pike Morning Show, I am willing. I am willing to pay you $13 a day.
A day?
Yes,
hour?
a day. No, a day. Let's make that clear. A day.
What can we do? What if we work out like a trade deal? How about food?
All right. You know, I know.
I think we can make that happen.
I think we can do that. I mean, I can have my wife cook, or I can just go out, and I know where all the good Italian subs in the area are, so I can get the. I can pay in Italian subs. How about that?
Excellent. People tried to do that in my 20s and it didn't work out. So.
All right. Well, listen. You think about it, okay, and then get back to it. But until then, you can hear Danielle on her podcast. I'll have One of Everything, and that's like everywhere, right? Is that up everywhere, like Spotify and places like that, right?
It should be at this point. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, I think, TuneIn, Alexa, things like that. If you check any of my social media feeds, I'm most appearance. I'm most present.
Oh, boy. I know, right? That little LB moment there.
It's rubbing off on me. I'm most present on Instagram. My Instagram is at Danielle.Murr, but I'm on Twitter as well, at Danielle Murr. So I'll post all the links there. I'm working on my website right now. It's pretty bare bones, but DanielleMurr.com. I'll put all the links there as well. You guys can follow me. It's so nice to have all the listeners check in. Like, I love you guys so much for, whether you've listened to me and Shu together or apart or, for my whole career or a portion. I wouldn't have done as well as I did in radio if it weren't for the listeners. And the best part about going to events, especially when we were at AAF for so long and going to rock shows and events like that, everybody's just so salt of the earth, which sounds cliche, but just approachable, cool people that come up and they're like, hey, can I buy you a beer? Thanks for keeping me company every morning. So I want to extend my thanks to you guys because I love you so much and I miss you. And I hope you guys are all doing well in your own personal lives. And if you're not, please try to take one little step today to improve something because you are absolutely worth it 100%.
All right, Danielle Murr. Hey, Danielle, thank you so much for taking the time.
I love you, Joe.
I love you too, baby. And, we'll be talking irregardless.
Irregardless guy.
We'll be talking in the future.
Kenny Casey, I love the Dropkicks guy.
Oh, yeah, we had him on this morning. He wanted to say hi to you, your former boss there at McGreevy's.
No, maybe you should have texted me back yesterday.
Oh, boy. I didn't want to I don't want to get in the middle of this.
It's the middle of March, guy. Kenny's phone's probably blown up like no other, so I can't hate on that. I'm sure someday I'll hear back from him.
Oh, really? A member of the Dropkick Murphys getting a lot of texts on St. Patrick's Day? That's surprising. I know. It's probably LB asking if he can get a plus 81 for their show tonight, which is a live stream, by the way, LB, buddy.
What's this club called? Chat Room Kid.
What is this? What is this? Twitch? What is that?
Hey, Richie, drive us to Zoom. I'll get the address.
All right, Danielle. Thank you so much. Here, hold on one second, okay?
Yes.
All right, there's Danielle Murr. Check out her podcast. I'll have One of Everything.